Now, there is no doubt about it that Snow White 2025 is best described as by far one of the worst failures by the Walt Disney Company, not just because of their overfunding on this project, but also given the fact that they hired someone like Rachel Zegler to handle the PR events, all the, of course, examples that we have gone through before in the past, about what she said about 1937's version of Snow White, about what she said about the prince, and all these different things in the early stages that only contributed to other disasters later down the road. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So we know that there's been a lot of drama going on between both Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot. We know that Rachel snubbed Gal over her Walk of Fame. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there's an ongoing issue going on there. We'll have a lot more to talk about that in the coming hours. But what's interesting about Gal Gadot is that she actually did take action against the Walt Disney Company when it comes to this movie in particular, the press tour, and the entire marketing campaign, and how it's all coming crashing down on Bob Iger, the Disney CEO. Now let's go over exactly what Gal did toward Snow White as a whole, toward the cast such as Rachel Zegler, and more. Now, we already know that Gal is way smarter than anyone knows compared to Rachel Zegler because she all saw this coming. She knew exactly what was in store for this movie. She knew right off the bat that this really wasn't going to resonate with a lot of fans out there of Disney, and even with those that oppose Disney that wouldn't even want to give this thing a chance to begin with, obviously, but they knew the criticism was coming. You know, people like Gal Gadot, Bob Iger, the many Disney executives, they all knew the criticism was on, you know, the horizon. It was those like Rachel Zegler, Mark Webb, Greta Gerwig that were just very much ignorant. They didn't want to accept the facts that these, of course, critics were going to come forward and really just tell it like it is when it came to this movie. However, with the Walt Disney Company now in panic mode over the metrics for Snow White and the growing backlash, along with the negative press from critics, already those like Gal Gadot are beginning to strike back at this film and the criticism and what Disney did to this movie. An unexpected turn of events that recently happened involves how Gal recently refused to do an entire press tour for Disney's Snow White, where they were going to have Gal visit movie theaters in the Los Angeles area by showing up in person and taking personal questions about the film, specifically about her character. The main reason why Gal decided to force Disney to cancel this entire event, in which she was supposed to visit a total of, get this, 10 movie theaters to create viral buzz for the film, is that Disney was going to control the questions, and Gal was very unhappy about those questions that were only allowed to be asked in the theaters from audience members. Gal reportedly is ashamed of Disney and what they did with the final cut of the film, so much that she is also now unwilling to go on certain talk shows for the press tour of Snow White while it's in theaters. Now, not just that, but Gal Gadot is also forcing Disney to cancel several interviews that she was supposed to have with both director Mark Webb and writer Greta Gerwig on video. More than 60% of those interviews, Gal will not be attending due to the complete disappointment with how Disney treated the final cut by using some of Gal's worst takes in the film. There was even a recent squabble between herself and director Mark Webb, who approved and proposed the re-editing of the film to the Disney company. To make matters even worse for the Snow White press tour, and how Gal is truly disappointed with the final product, is that Gal is already preparing to reveal the complications that they had on set, and is getting ready to address some of the drama to share her side of the story. This is planned to be done on some radio programs, one of which will be on Sirius XM, where Gal will actually set the record straight about her issues with Rachel Zegler, but is waiting for the film to exit out of theaters. Now, guys, before I move on, let me just say one thing about this. It seems like Gal wants to be, the bigger person in all of this. She wants to wait things out with the Snow White box office results and wants to actually leave that behind before she begins to set the record straight and really go on all these different radio shows. I think that it was Gal and only a few others attached to this movie that really saw the criticism looming for the film once it arrived in theaters. They knew what was coming once they went through the third round of reshoots and 7 failed test screenings. We talked about this many months ago, that they had 7 test screenings that all failed consecutively, alright? One after the other, they just did not resonate with the audience. They did not work well with the screeners at all. Terrible acting, bad pacing, lackluster editing, producing, writing, whatever have you. Across the board, this movie has no checks and it's all X's when it comes to all the things that you really should obtain in a good movie. And that's exactly what's been going on with this film. All agendas aside, let's be very real here. Let's be very direct. All agendas aside, it's just a bad movie. It's just a pure, terrible film by Walt Disney as a whole, by the Walt Disney Company. But this is what's interesting here even further. Now, Gal also is reportedly deeply offended that the Disney Company and the editors that handed the actual film were specifically instructed to use some of Gal's worst takes, like I said before. Gal is not happy with this final product at all, and has been instructed by Disney to act as if everything is just fine. However, this is not the reality of the situation, as Gal is also refusing to do a major interview with specific ABC-run programs to promote Snow White with director Mark Webb. Gal is trying to distance herself so much, not just from Rachel Zegler, but also from the entire Snow White film itself, as she plans to focus on more action and thriller films in the near future, with other studios to expand her acting career after she lost her ride with Wonder Woman. Now guys, you guys may recall that she's no longer going to be Wonder Woman because James Gunn took over the DC Universe. He's creating a whole new universe surrounding the DC Comics, starting off with the major film this year, Superman. But what's interesting about that, too, is the fact that she's focusing more on thriller and action films after this. And look, I was also shocked that Gal even accepted to become a part of a Disney movie, especially back in 2021 before filming was even complete, because that was right around the peak time where Disney was truly doubling down on everything to do with DEI, everything to do with their agenda, their ideology. Now, look, we know that Gal is not 100% perfect, but she should have saw this coming. She should have known that Disney's agenda ultimately destroys everything it touches. We all saw what happened with Star Wars, we all saw what happened with Marvel as a whole, and even Indiana Jones. I mean, if that wasn't a big enough sign for you, I don't know what else was. But this turn of events by Gal is already frightening the Disney Company, and they are aware that it is contributing to a failing press tour because of Gal Gadot. And you know what? Look, you guys can have these disagreements or agreements about Gal, alright, in isolation, that's fine. But you know what? I think that Gal has some common sense when it comes to the overall, structure of what this film is about. It's just a bad movie. She's trying to distance herself from this thing. She's also getting snubbed by Rachel Zegler in the most unprofessional way, in the most petty way possible, to the point that she just ignored Gal's Walk of Fame. That has a lot to do with the drama. There's a very big, grudge between the two for various reasons, obviously. Things that we went over repeatedly. I don't think I have to repeat it again. But again, this just shows you exactly what's going on with the Disney Company, Bob Iger, the Disney executives, the board of directors. They have no clue what to do at this point other than to just get past this disaster and let it just phase out like a hurricane eventually does, right? They want to deal with this and they want to just get it done and over with. So I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.